asked to leave the White House. Then he appeared on Fox News and said he thinks he can still salvage his relationship with President.
Ryan Reynolds has spent years perfecting one of Hollywood's most polished public images, the witty, charming goofball who playfully roasts his wife, fires off sarcasm like it's second nature, and radiates the kind of easygoing warmth that makes him feel like everyone's favorite neighbor. But what if that image is exactly that, and an image? What if behind the cheeky grin and effortless humor lies a side far less wholesome than he lets on?
Her, not on him. Incredibly telling. So that to me is showing where Hollywood and all these people.
Here's the uncomfortable truth Hollywood insiders whisper, but rarely say aloud. Ryan Reynolds may actually be one of the most controlling, egotistical, and intimidating figures in the industry. You've seen the headlines. Tension with co-stars, sudden walkouts, directors quitting mid-project, and wondered if there's more beneath the surface. Spoiler, there is, and it runs much deeper than anyone realizes. The quick-witted, self-aware charmer on talk shows contrasts sharply with accounts of an actor who allegedly threatened a makeup artist's career over something as trivial as a blush brush. And that shocking outburst might only scratch the surface of a much darker pattern. Buckle up. You're about to step behind the curtain into the version of Ryan Reynolds that Hollywood doesn't advertise. Once you see the full picture, the rumors, the testimonies, the fractures in the facade, you may never look at him the same way again.
The source that says he had quite an experience demanding his makeup artist show up or get fired. I'll share that.
It all began with the meltdown that exposed Ryan Reynolds' darker side and sent shockwaves rippling through the studio system. The story goes like this. During production on a major blockbuster, reshoots were scheduled. Nothing unusual in Hollywood. But when his longtime makeup artist was unavailable, tied up on another set, what should have been a minor inconvenience allegedly turned explosive. Instead of simply hiring a replacement like most stars would, Reynolds reportedly lost his temper and issued a blunt ultimatum. Return immediately, or face consequences.
Next day I walked on and I said, you get off my set. It's the first time I've ever spoken. I remember being so scared. Yes. And I looked at this person and I said, you can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to see.
You'll never work in this town again. Pause on that for a moment. We're not talking about some rising star throwing a diva tantrum. This is Ryan Reynolds, the man who spent years curating the image of Hollywood's funniest, most self-deprecating neighbor. For decades, he's been the quick-witted guy who cracks jokes at his own expense, the affable clown who seems impossible to dislike. Yet if these whispers are true, behind the cameras that charm curdles into something far more unsettling, a figure scarily controlling and unafraid to wield his influence. Industry insiders claim Reynolds essentially demanded the impossible, ordering his trusted makeup artist to drop everything and return immediately or risk being blacklisted. Rumors like these swirl around plenty of big-name actors, but they almost never make it into the open. This time, however, Fox News reportedly caught wind. Faced with the choice between angering a valuable star or appeasing his demands, the studio allegedly pressured the artist to comply, fast. And if that chilling threat about never working again truly came from Reynolds himself, imagine the fear it must have sparked. Hollywood is a ruthless, competitive machine. When someone with that kind of clout even hints your career could be over, most people scramble. Some might dismiss it as an off day, a rare lapse in judgment. But as more stories trickle out, the picture darkens, less like an isolated meltdown and more like a pattern. A warning sign that the comedian adored by millions might, behind closed doors, be one of the industry's toughest bullies. To understand how that reputation took hold, you have to look at Reynolds' history with directors. Early in his career, he was the rom-com lead, the sarcastic sidekick desperate for that one breakout role. Everything changed when Deadpool exploded into a cultural phenomenon. Suddenly, Reynolds wasn't just the star. He was the authority. Tim Miller, the director who helped turn Deadpool into a global phenomenon, learned the hard way what it means to clash with Ryan Reynolds. Despite critical acclaim and box office dominance, Miller abruptly exited Deadpool 2. Why would a director walk away from a billion-dollar franchise? According to industry chatter, the answer was simple: control. Reynolds allegedly wanted near-total authority, casting choices, script revisions, marketing strategies, everything. The synergy that fueled the first film evaporated. Rumors suggest Miller realized staying would mean endless battles with Hollywood's newly crowned golden boy. And fighting Ryan Reynolds at that point was career suicide. So he walked. Or perhaps he was pushed. That wouldn't be the last time Reynolds' alleged need for control surfaced. More directors and colleagues have hinted at similar experiences, describing him as increasingly difficult once he senses momentum on a project. The charm that dominates press tours reportedly vanishes the moment someone says no to his vision. Behind closed doors, the lovable jokester transforms into a man determined to prove he's the mastermind behind every success. And the pattern doesn't stop there. Consider T.J. Miller, the comedian who played Weasel in the Deadpool films, a natural foil to Reynolds' sarcastic wit. On paper, they should have been perfect partners, yet according to Miller himself, their dynamic was anything but playful. He described Reynolds' behavior as weirdly mean, not friendly ribbing, but sharp public jabs delivered in front of the crew. It felt, he said, less like humor and more like dominance, a calculated reminder of who really ran the show. He's not the only one. Morena Baccarin, who played Vanessa, was adored by fans for her chemistry with Reynolds in the first film. But in the sequel, her presence was dramatically reduced, her role sidelined to almost nothing. Officially, it was a creative decision. Unofficially, insiders whisper that Baccarin had offered notes Reynolds didn't like, and shortly after, she found herself edged out of the spotlight. What looked like a script change may have been something else entirely. A power play. When these stories are placed side by side, a troubling pattern emerges. Reynolds, according to those who've worked with him, thrives only when he remains the undisputed star. Anyone who challenges his comedic dominance, whether a co-star with improvisational talent or a collaborator with creative opinions, allegedly finds themselves minimized, sidelined, or quietly erased from the frame. The easygoing mentor fans think they know maybe little more than a character, one meticulously designed for late-night talk shows and social media. Behind the scenes, former colleagues describe a man fiercely protective of his image, guarding his throne at the center of every production. And if you want proof of just how real that tension can get, look no further than one of Hollywood's most unexpected fallouts, Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal. Remember their 2017 press tour for Life? The viral interviews? The laughter? The effortless bromance? That friendship didn't just fade, it imploded. And what came next, some say, reveals more about Reynolds' true nature than any interview ever could. For a brief, shining moment, Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal looked destined to become Hollywood's next great comedic duo. Their press tour for Life was viral gold. Two leading men laughing through interviews like old friends, their chemistry so natural it felt unscripted. But just as quickly as the laughter began, it stopped. The playful energy evaporated. During a later interview, Jake was asked directly about Ryan. Instead of the usual Hollywood courtesy, a polite compliment, a canned, "he's great," Gyllenhaal shut down. The actor known for composure, who once endured entire songs written about him without flinching, suddenly had nothing to say. Not a single kind word. His curt dismissal said everything words couldn't. So what went wrong? A minor scheduling clash? Creative tension? Or something deeper? The silence surrounding the rift fueled endless speculation. Hollywood runs on performance. The forced smiles, the hollow "we're still great friends" statements. For Gyllenhaal to drop even the illusion of friendliness meant something serious had fractured. Rumors whispered that Reynolds' controlling tendencies dominated the set, that Jake, a heavyweight in his own right, refused to bend. Whatever the truth, Gyllenhaal's visible coolness marked the first real crack in Ryan's carefully polished image. The lovable funny guy, it seemed, wasn't universally loved behind the scenes, but the hints don't end with professional friendships. To grasp the full picture, you have to look at Reynolds' personal life. Specifically, two high-profile relationships that preceded his marriage to Blake Lively, Scarlett Johansson and Alanis Morissette. Both women walked away, both according to whispers and thinly veiled remarks, pointed to the same issue, Ryan's insecurity. Scarlett, famously private and measured, once remarked that passive-aggressive jealousy is just another form of insecurity. She didn't name names, but the timing and tone spoke volumes. Tabloids were quick to connect the dots. At the time, Johansson's career was on fire, while Reynolds was still carving his place. Insiders claimed he struggled with being overshadowed by her rising fame. Before Scarlett came Alanis. Their engagement ended abruptly, and she famously poured her heartbreak into the album Flavors of Entanglement. One track, laced with frustration over unbelievable insecurity, sparked endless speculation about who inspired it. Though she never confirmed, the assumption was clear. 2 relationships, 2 breakups, both framed by rumors of jealousy and control. Together, they sketch a very different portrait than the charming, self-effacing man the public adores. Behind the cheeky grin may lurk an ego easily bruised, a man who struggles with envy, authority, and loss of control. And if that insecurity strains his private relationships, imagine how it festers on multi-million-dollar film sets where power, ego, and image are currency. What starts as insecurity can evolve into tantrums, ultimatums, and whispered threats. Fans, of course, point to his marriage with Blake Lively as proof that Ryan's found balance. Together, they've built an empire of witty banter, birthdays, holidays, anniversaries turned into public comedy routines. On the surface, it's perfection. 2 glamorous stars who roast each other with surgical precision, a fairy tale with punchlines. But here's the question no one wants to ask. Why push this narrative so hard? The constant stream of cheeky posts, the curated humor, the flawless image of domestic bliss, what's it all distracting from? Because in Hollywood, the harder a couple sells the joke, the more likely it's hiding something serious behind the laughter. It feels almost too perfect. In the rumor mill, this isn't seen as harmless fun, it's seen as strategy. Every time negative press about Ryan's alleged on-set clashes surfaces, the couple's cutesy online antics mysteriously dominate headlines instead. The cheeky birthday posts, the sarcastic captions, the endless banter, all of it conveniently drowns out the darker whispers about feuds, threats, or controlling behavior. To some, it looks less like coincidence and more like a well-oiled distraction machine, one that keeps the spotlight fixed on Ryan as Hollywood's favorite witty everyman, even as unsettling stories bubble beneath the surface. Whether that's intentional or not, the timing often speaks for itself. Whenever controversy brews, rumors of on-set meltdowns, clashes with co-stars, or unsettling power plays, Ryan and Blake seem to have a preloaded PR response, a new round of playful couple content. Overnight, headlines pivot from alleged chaos to harmless fluff, Ryan teasing Blake's fashion choices, Blake forgetting Ryan's birthday again. It's a time-tested tactic. Give the public something sweet and funny to overshadow the bitter truth. But the perfectly curated image has its cracks. Blake herself has been entangled in her own legal mess, most notably, a public fallout with Justin Baldoni that's left fans divided. It's the kind of courtroom drama that doesn't quite fit the glossy fairy tale brand they've so carefully built. The result? A shimmering facade of couple goals masking a far murkier reality. How authentic is their love story, really? Depends who you ask. Some insist it's genuine. Others suspect the constant performative affection reeks of overcompensation. After all, truly secure couples don't need to remind the internet daily how happy they are. Critics argue the oversaturation is itself a red flag, that the relentless humor may be less about love and more about damage control. Because if the stories of Ryan's alleged outbursts and controlling tendencies keep piling up, their social media routine might be the only thing standing between him and a full-scale image collapse. And those stories are stacking up, starting with the infamous makeup artist incident, when Reynolds allegedly threatened a career over mere unavailability. Add to that director Tim Miller, who famously walked away from Deadpool 2 despite the first film's explosive success, reportedly unable to endure the power struggles that came with Reynolds' creative control. Then there's TJ Miller, who openly described Ryan's behavior toward him as weirdly mean, and Morena Baccarin, whose reduced screen time in the sequel sparked rumors of behind-the-scenes tension. Even Jake Gyllenhaal's sudden silence, after years of hyping their so-called bromance, raised eyebrows, hinting at rifts Hollywood PR couldn't completely smooth over. It doesn't stop there. Beyond co-stars, several respected figures in the industry have subtly mocked or questioned Reynolds' work, often with a knowing smirk that suggests there's more to the story.